Hey, Dr. Pacifica. I'm going to be talking about tiger salamanders today. So the full classification of tiger salamander is Kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, subphylum Vertebrata, class Amphibia, order Caudata, family Ambystomatidae, genus Ambystoma, and species Tigrinum. So they're pretty widely distributed throughout the United States. They're mainly in the Midwest, and then in North Carolina specifically, they're in the sandhills and the coastal plains. They need habitats like forests, grasslands, marshes, and just areas where there are seasonal breeding ponds. But they also spend most of their life underwater, like other salamanders, so they need soil that's suitable for burrowing, which is probably why they are in the sandhills and coastal plains of North Carolina, because they have the really sandy soils. They're really long-lived. Their average lifespan is about 10 to 15 years in the wild. Their natural predators are raccoons, river turtles, birds, and snakes. But throughout their range, their population levels are pretty healthy. But deforestation, pollution, and rising acidity levels in their breeding pools are affecting their distribution. So they have kind of like an interesting reproduction and life cycle. So they migrate to breeding ponds in the late winter in groups, which is one of the only times they get together in groups. They're pretty solitary otherwise. But the males produce spermatophores and attach them to rocks and logs under the water. And then the females come in and fertilize their eggs with the spermatophores and lay eggs at the bottom of the pool. And then larvae hatch from the eggs and develop underwater until they reach adulthood. But the cool part is that there are actually two different morphs of larvae. There's a normal, typical one, and then there's the cannibalistic larva, which is a little bit bigger, and it'll actually eat all of the other typical larvae. So it's just a little bit crazy, but they still develop into regular tiger salamanders. But it's just kind of cool that they have two different morphs, and they just kind of develop randomly. So, like I said, they spend the majority of their time underground in burrows, and they're also solitary unless they migrate to mate. But they're really great predators. They emerge from their burrows at night, and they feed on worms, insects, frogs, and other salamanders. Basically anything that's smaller than them that they can fit into their mouths, they'll eat. So some fun facts to finish off. There are some adults that don't undergo complete metamorphosis into a terrestrial form. They just remain aquatic their entire lives. So there'll be some tiger salamanders that look like larvae, but they could be 10 to 15 years old. I just thought that was crazy. Males are also super aggressive when they mate, and there are some males that will imitate females so that they can get closer to the females without other males knowing. So they kind of sneak in to go mate, and the other males don't even know. And then the last fun fact that I have is that they have these tail glands that produce toxins. So when they feel threatened, they'll curl their head and tail over their back to expose their glands. So in this picture, this isn't a tiger salamander, but I couldn't find a picture of one of them doing it. But it's just pushing its tail and its head back so that the predator can see the glands and hopefully scare it off so it won't eat it. I thought that was crazy. It's just like a funny little stance that they do. But that's all I have about tiger salamanders. I think they're an awesome species of salamander that we can sometimes find here in North Carolina. They're one of the largest in North America and one of the most widespread salamanders in North Carolina. So they're pretty cool. But yeah, so thanks for listening.